Hey guys, I've been thinking about something recently, and Jesus says, "Hey Ashton," Jesus says in John 14:6, right? He says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." And this is a verse I've thought on for a really, really long time, even before I was a Christian, because this is the one verse, as an atheist, I thought made Christianity immoral, dangerous, and intolerant. Immoral in the sense that it's judgmental. It says that certain behaviors are wrong, especially when you start talking about extramarital sex, fornication, or same-sex attraction, or homosexual marriage, or issues having to do with bioethics. Dangerous in the sense that it teaches exclusivism. I think I was used to think that if you were a Christian, you were intolerant because you weren't open-minded to other people's ideas and you didn't accept those ideas as equally valid as your own. So I've been thinking about this question, and is Christianity immoral? Is Christianity dangerous? Is it intolerant? The culture seems to think so, because they've bought into this idea, this philosophy that has actually, it's influenced American culture in the West for decades now, and it's called relativism. And today I'm going to show you how to respond to these types of claims. Christianity is dangerous, immoral, and intolerant. In this episode of To the Point, which is my monthly video where we're going to be exploring this relativism, this cultural topic, but other culturally relevant topics from a Christian worldview. And if you have questions, make sure you add them into the comments section over there to the right. And I'd love to get to them, because I just like to talk about this maybe for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then take some of your questions. So let's get back to relativism here, because I've been spending a lot of time thinking about this. Actually, this weekend I'm preaching at my church, Soli Church, and I'm going to be preaching on this because I think it's such an important topic. Greg Kokel yesterday in our staff meeting spent some time talking about this. Relativism is the doctrine that knowledge, truth, morality, that these things exist in relation to culture in society or in or historical context, and they're not absolute in any sense. They're not objective. Belief that objective truth does not exist. This is relativism. There's not a right or a wrong outside of your individual belief or individual opinion. Friedrich Nietzsche, I don't know if you guys have ever read Nietzsche. In his Thus Spoke Zarathustra, he had Zarathustra say this. He says that you have your way, I have my way. As for the right way, the correct way, the only way, it does not exist. So as we begin to explore what relativism is in this episode, I guess you're going to call it, this our time together, and to the point, I think the first thing that we got to do is we got to understand what truth is, right? So just out with it. Truth is, this is how I explain it to my kids. I've got 4 little girls, 11, 9, 8, and 5. So I try to break this stuff down super simple for them. And what I do is I say, truth is the way the world really is. Truth is that which accurately reflects reality. It's factually and logically correct. It's not discovered. It's discovered. It's not invented, is what I tell my kids. We discover truth. We don't invent truths. Truth exists independent of it being known. Truth is not necessarily belief, because we hold any myriad of false beliefs. I don't know about you, but I do. I hold to a great many, I'm sure, false beliefs, especially, when I get to glory. I'm sure God's going to point out all my false beliefs. Right now, my wife is very good at pointing out my false beliefs, And so in order to understand relativism, we have to understand that there are two kinds of ways that something can be true as well. And I'm sure that you guys watching, you've heard this illustration probably a dozen times from a dozen different people. I think I probably heard this first from either Brett Kunkle or Sean McDowell, right? They use the ice cream and insulin example, right? You have ice cream, and I ask, well, what's your favorite kind of ice cream? And I think of mint chocolate chip personally. That's my favorite kind of ice cream. It's obviously cold, but it's minty and sweet because of the chocolate. And I think that mint chip is the best kind of ice cream. Well, what do you think the best kind of ice cream is as you're sitting there right now? What do you imagine being the best frozen treat? Now you have that in your mind. Would it make sense for me to say that you're wrong about what you just thought about? No, that doesn't make any sense at all to say you're wrong about your taste in ice cream. Why? Well, when it comes to flavors of ice cream, you can choose what you like. You can make up your own opinion about that and hold to it and say, this is the best flavor of ice cream for me. This kind of claim, it's known as a subjective claim. It's subjective because it's about the subject, you or me, and your or my personal preference. In this case, our favorite flavor of ice cream. This is a subjective truth claim. And I hope you're tracking, right? But then you have insulin, and then this is a different type of truth claim. This is an objective truth claim. Now, if you had diabetes, for example, your doctor might prescribe to you insulin, right, to treat your diabetes. And now with insulin, you often have to stick yourself with a needle, and nobody likes that. Would it make any sense, though? Would it make any sense for me to say to you, or to the doctor even, hey, thanks, doc, but I need Snickers ice cream, not insulin? Well, of course that wouldn't make any sense. Why wouldn't it make any sense? Because Snickers ice cream it might be your favorite type of ice cream, but it doesn't treat diabetes. And so when it comes to medicine, you got to choose what heals, not what you like. And this type of claim is known as an objective truth claim because it's about the object, insulin, and what's true about it. It's healing or managing capabilities, in this case for diabetes. Do you see the difference? And this is really important to understand, because I think that we find ourselves in a moment in culture where relativism has kind of ruled the day, and everything has become subjective. And now we see it in almost everything that we do. I mean, we are at a place now, the Olympics are going on, where we're having men compete as women. And the reason for this finds its foundation in relativism. And it's a thing that's kind of crept up into our culture. And this is why it's really important. Even last month, I spoke about the kind of the historicity of the Gospels, the historical reliability of the New Testament and the Gospels. And I tied it to these deconversion stories, which have kind of gripped me, to be honest with you. I'm grieved by these young men and women who are leaving the church. And I think relativism plays a major role in this. And well, to the point, relativism. At its core, it treats everything like ice cream. You choose what you like. You're the arbiter of what's true. Everything is true for you, but not for me. You see, as an atheist, I was a relativist. My family right now, my brother and my sister, my mom to a certain extent, they're relativists. They make truth relative to themselves. Relativism makes truth relative to the subject as opposed to the object. What's the point here? The point is this: truth is paramount to our lives. Ignoring truth doesn't work. People think, I'm going to draw out this problem for you, why this is an issue. Because there's some of us that might be looking at this right now and be like, whatever, just, you do you, and I'll do me, right? Because people think, for example, morality and religion. These are two problems where relativism really peeks its head out. People think that morality and religion are like ice cream, not insulin. You just pick what you like. They think that religion and morality are subjective truths, not objective truths, true for all people, regardless of your opinion about it. And the church, it cannot adopt relativism without having some serious consequences. You see, friends, relativism is one of those arguments in 2 Corinthians 10 that we're called to destroy. We destroy arguments in every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God and take every thought captive to Christ, is what Paul says. And here's the point here. Ideas have consequences. Ideas matter. Consequences. And one of the main consequences has to do with how we live, not just morality, but how we look at sin. It undermines sin. Relativism undermines sin. Why is that, you might be saying? Well, let's think about it. The only way that sin is real is if there's an objective standard of morality. I mean, a standard outside of you and outside of me. If relativism is true, then there's no objective morality, a standard by which we determine right and wrong. I mean, C.S. Lewis, I don't have his exact quote in front of me, but he was amazing when he drew this out. You can't judge. The only way that we know a line is straight, or crooked rather, is because we have a straight line to compare it to. No objective morality, no sin. Think about this with me. This is where the rubber really meets the road. This is the point. If there's no objective morality, there's no sin. If there's no sin, there's no guilt. And if there's no guilt, there's no need for a pardon. And if there's no pardon, there's no need for Jesus. And ultimately, in the end, relativism undermines the gospel. Ultimately, we've seen this for ages. I mean, this isn't new. There's nothing new under the sun, right? We've read it in Judges 21:25. In those days, there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. That's moral relativism. And what did that culture look like? Where did it lead them? But not only does relativism undermine sin, relativism undermines the mission of the Christian. So if you're watching this and you're a Christian, relativism undermines our mission altogether. Jesus in Matthew 28, he says, "Go and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I've commanded." But if relativism's true, then there's no obligation to do any of that. There's no obligation to make disciples. There's no obligation to baptize. There's no obligation to teach, to obey anything. Think about it. If relativism is true, then Christianity is just one of many true religions or worldviews. Just choosing a religion is like choosing your favorite flavor of ice cream. Just pick what you like. Pick what feels good. Pick what feels good. Hedonism, right? If Christianity isn't the only true religion, what's the motivation for evangelism then? Why talk to your neighbors about who Jesus is? Why send missionaries to the corners of the earth? Why waste our time? Why go and make disciples of all the nations? In other words, if relativism is true. You see, when you apply relativism to religion, you get religious pluralism, right? It's a smorgasbord, a cornucopia on the Thanksgiving table. Pick the religion that's true for you and whatever gives you comfort. And you know what? When you throw that one on and it doesn't fit, doesn't feel good, well, just throw it off and pick another because you got so many others. So if religion is subjectively true, what are people going to think when you say Christianity is true, or Jesus died for your sins, or come to church? I mean, they'd say the same thing that they'd say if you said my favorite flavor of ice cream is mint chocolate chip. That's nice. That's good for you. Whatever floats your boat, whatever blows your hair back. I don't have much of that to blow anymore, but all roads lead to Rome. I've heard, different strokes for different folks, whatever lights your candle. And my family tells me this one all the time. They think I'm nuts sometimes, but they say, I'm so glad you found Jesus. That's fantastic for you. And I'm glad that it's true for you, but it's just not true for me. But does that take our view seriously? When I tell somebody that I'm a Christian, am I saying that I like mint chocolate chip ice cream? Or am I saying I believe in something that's fundamentally true, regardless of where we find ourselves or our opinion about it? Is that what I'm saying? People point sometimes at this point in the conversation, they point to similarities in religion, and they try to prove that they're all equally true because they're all the same. And they look at things like the golden rule, for example, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's from Matthew, right? But Hinduism has a similar one. Do not. He flips it, right? Do not do to others what would cause pain if done to you, and so on and so forth. I mean, Islam has one, Confucianism has one. There's so many of them. It's a claim that all religions are basically the same, and therefore they're all true. I mean, this is religious pluralism, ultimately. But can all religions be true? Absolutely not. Because they contradict each other in very substantive, foundational, and fundamental ways. I mean, for example, the Christian theism, we believe that God is three. We believe that Jesus is God, the Holy Spirit is God, and so too is the Father. And on Islam, they would deny that, right? That we believe that Jesus died and rose again. There's many religions that deny that. Certain religions are atheistic in their foundations. So how can you have the contradictory beliefs within systems, but then have them all be true? You can't do it. When you apply a relativism to a religion, religious pluralism, it just doesn't work. All roads do not lead to Rome. Remember what I said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Right? That's what Jesus said. That's where I got hung up. The only way to the Father is through me, is what he says. This is a claim to exclusivity. But what happens when you apply relativism to morality? Well, you get moral relativism, right? What's wrong is up to you. You make that up as you go along. It's relative to the person. If morals are subjectively true, though, what are people going to think when you say certain things are wrong? How can you ever correct anybody? And then what happens when you do on moral relativism? Well, you hear things like you shouldn't judge other people, or to each his own. Let him live his life. My body, my choice. Sound familiar? Right? It's insane what we've come to believe sometimes, And the sad thing about it is that many Christians live according to this philosophy. They believe in God. They go to church. They even sing praises to Jesus throughout the week, maybe. But they're functioning as atheists. I was reading a book recently. Oh, man, I forget the title of it. But I read the statistic, and this is an older book, actually. It's probably now 6 or 7 years old. So the statistics are probably even worse now. But 34% of Christian adults say that moral truth is objective. Okay, listen to me carefully. I'm going to repeat that. 34% of Christian adults say moral truth is objective. That means there's 66% of Christian adults who identify themselves as Christian, who say that morals are relative. And then I read another statistic that I jotted down that 9% of Christian teens say that moral truth is objective. That means 99% of teens who identify as Christian think that morals are subjective. And then we ask the big question, why have we found ourselves in the place where we are? Where up seems to be down, right seems to be wrong, and I think that this begins when we start to look into relativism. This is the point. This is why we're talking about it. This is the big deal. Now I want to say something here because it's really important, because I'm going to start talking about how we address this to our people. It's really good to see all you guys commenting. And asking some questions. I'd love to get your questions. Keep commenting. I'm going to hit you guys up in maybe a minute or two. How long have I been on? 21 minutes. I'm almost done. Okay. I want to say something that's really, really important here. Okay. This is the big deal. This is the point. All people are equal, but not all ideas are equal. And I say that this is really important to understand because we want to make sure that we treat people equally with equity, right? People are valuable apart from their ideas because they're made in the image of God. That's what makes people equal. The person, we're all equal because we're all made in the image of God, regardless of what we believe. But not every idea is equal. There is such a thing as a dumb idea. There is. I'm sorry. I remember in grad school, excuse me, Clay Jones actually taught me that. There is a such thing as a stupid question. I'm sorry, there is. Peter Kreeft, actually, he's out of Boston College. He says it this way. I think it's amazing. He says that we should be egalitarian regarding persons and be elitists regarding ideas. So we think of others as equals, but we realize that some ideas are better than others. And this is where we get ourselves in the trouble. And this is where we start to think, or I used to, as an atheist, start to think the Christian or anybody who held to an objective standard was intolerant. One of the reasons that relativism has become so popular is because kind of the fear and then the awkwardness of saying that we think we're right. And then when we say that we think we're right, usually it's in the context in the discussion with somebody, and we're also saying that the other person is wrong. Now, for me, I've always enjoyed the argument. My background's legal. I like the fight. I like the debate. But a lot of people don't. And that's actually why I think one of the reasons relativism crept into the church. Because it's the conflict. Whoa, I don't want to be intolerant. We're afraid of that label. And then this fear, it stifles critical thought. And I think it hampers productive discussions about religion and values and ethics and morals and worldviews. And this fear is unjustified because people are confused about what tolerance is and what it isn't. And I'm only going to briefly go over this. For more, I actually just wrote a script for the Colson Center of Worldviews out of DC, and then they're going to be releasing a video, I think, in September on this. And then I have a blog coming out on it as well, the redefinition of what tolerance is, because Christians, and I used to do this as an atheist, I'd label Christians as being intolerant. Christians are often labeled intolerant. Abortion is wrong. Well, you're intolerant towards women, or Islam is false, or you're intolerant towards Muslims, or homosexual sex is a sin. Well, you're intolerant towards gays and lesbians, or any other issue. Jesus is the only way. Well, how dare you? To take a moral stand on any moral truth or truth issue. And you'll be labeled intolerant. There's confusion here. There's confusion about the proper meaning of tolerance, right? There's two definitions at play, right? There's the cultural definition. I'd say it's a new definition. I'd say it's a postmodern relativistic definition, where tolerance is agreeing with people. If you disagree with something, then you're labeled as intolerant. And of course, that sounds really bad. Nobody wants to be intolerant. Everybody wants to be loving. But what's the real definition of tolerance? Well, the internet, go to Google when in doubt, right? Tolerance is to recognize and respect others' beliefs and practices without sharing them, to bear or put up with someone or something not necessarily liked. In other words, tolerance is disagreeing with someone or something or someone's viewpoint, but still respecting the person. This is really interesting how relativism has shifted this definition. Now, in order to have tolerance, true tolerance, real tolerance, I have to disagree with your belief. We don't tolerate things we agree with. You don't tolerate someone who shares your views or is on your side of any given issue. You agree with them, so you can't tolerate them. Does this make sense to you guys? You have to disagree with someone in order to tolerate them. Christians turn out to be the most tolerant people in the world oftentimes when we start getting a proper and right view, unskewed by relativism, of what tolerance is. I have so many friends in my life whom I adamantly disagree with. I mean, my entire family. I mean, a lot of my friends, all my law firm friends, certainly, I disagree with them. I tolerate their ideas. I have trans friends. I have gay and lesbian friends. We hang out. We discuss these ideas back and forth. This is tolerance. This isn't being bigoted or intolerant, And adding to the confusion is the fact that tolerance can be applied to different things, persons, behaviors, and ideas. The tolerance of behaviors, for example, right? All behaviors are equal now. But our laws, they demonstrate that you can believe what you want. We can express those beliefs. You can you can't always behave as you want, though. Think about it. Some behaviors are threat to the common good. I mean, right now in your chair, right now, as you're watching this, can you name a behavior you wouldn't tolerate? I can. Murder. I wouldn't tolerate that. And murder is restricted by laws. So it's not, tolerance isn't this like let everybody do what they want. It's not like the scripture we read when there's no king in Israel and everybody did as they chose. And then you have the tolerance of ideas. All ideas are equal or have equal worth or merit. Well, it's absurd to suggest that all ideas are equal and true. I was getting to this just a moment ago, and this is the point. History in our country has shown us that not all ideas are equal and not all ideas will be tolerated. I mean, you can name them. As you sit there right now, I know that you can name some ideas that are coming to your mind that aren't to be tolerated. Slavery, racism. These things aren't to be tolerated. Women voting, women's suffrage before women's suffrage, equal rights across the board, right? To argue that someone's views are false, immoral, or just plain dumb doesn't violate any meaningful standard of tolerance. Keep that in mind next time you have a conversation with somebody. So we always want to be tolerant of the person. All people are equal. And this requires us to be civil and respectful, and this is the classic definition of tolerance. We may strongly disagree on any given idea, and we might vigorously debate it and contend for the truth against them, but we show respect for the person, and we're 2 Peter 3:15 Christians, right? We always want to be contending for the truth, but we want to do it with gentleness and kindness. And I think that oftentimes these categories are conflated. If one rejects another's ideas or behavior, he's automatically accused of rejecting the person and of being intolerant. But you should be able to reject somebody's ideas without rejecting the person. To say I'm intolerant of the person because I disagree with their ideas, that's confused. That's a product of living in a relativistic culture. And let me close with this final thought here. If there is a God, then he has a standard of morality that's objective, not subjective. If objective standards exist, then we're all guilty. For all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. But since we're all lawbreakers, we deserve to be punished. Or we can be pardoned. And what's the worldview that offers a pardon? Well, there's only one that offers a pardon. That's Christianity, and it's through Jesus that we can be pardoned. Remember, John 14:6, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes through the Father except through me. You see, that's Jesus in a nutshell, saying relativism is false. And that's the superior worldview. This is only one of the reasons it's superior. Now, let me take, that's all I got for you right now, I think. Let me take a look at some of these comments and questions and see what's going on. I'm going to start here at the beginning. Ashton's here. I saw that. Let's see here. If you guys got questions, feel free to type them in. What's wrong with you? You like mint chocolate chip. You aren't normal. Dude, mint chocolate chip is by far the best ice cream. It's amazing. It's cold and refreshing and sweet, and it's all this in one. And it's like, coffee is a close second for me, but yeah, John, Donnie, that's a funny question. What's yours? But do you understand the difference between your favorite flavor of ice cream and Jesus saying, I am the way, the truth, and the life? Do you understand? I'm sure that you do, Here's Ashton. Ashton, how do you deal with someone that denies the existence of objective truth, besides pointing out that the claim is, yeah. That's a really, Ashton, that's what I do. The view, this is true of the modern view of tolerance too. The postmodern view, I should say, of tolerance, it self-destructs. It closes in on itself. And I try to help people understand that through asking questions. So when somebody says to me, there's no such thing of objective truth, and of course I'll ask that question. Well, is that true? And they say yes. They say, yeah, that's true. And I say, is that true like all the time for everybody, regardless of how they feel about it? And they say, yeah, that's true. Okay. And then I'll say, well, that's an objective truth claim. If they still don't get it, I'll back things up a little bit. And I've done this before with some folks where I was once talking to an environmentalist, and actually I stole this and used it, and it worked beautifully from J.P. Moreland. But I remember JP saying this illustration, using this illustration. And I had the opportunity to do it with a family member of mine who's an environmentalist. And I said, hey, you know what? Let's just drop the conversation about objective truths, morals being objective, and let's talk about a vacation I want to take you on. And I said, hey, Chris, I have a bunch of guys that we're going up to Shaver Lake. We're going to have a ball. It's a great time. It's a lake by me, and we're just going to have some fun. And would you like to come? And I said, the best part of this whole entire trip is that what we do is we each chip in like $50. And then we buy a 50-gallon drum of sulfuric acid, and we row out into the middle of Shaver Lake. And what we do is we dump that bin of sulfuric acid into the water, and we place a bet on how many fish it kills. And whoever gets closest to the number of fish that pop up wins the bet. It's a really good time, and you can make a lot of money because it's $50. It's about 20 guys going. Do you want to participate? And by then, this guy's neck. My friend's neck was like bulging with veins. His head, like he was sweating, literally. You can't do that. That's awful. You can't dump sulfuric acid in the Shaver Lake. And then I stopped and I said, hey, wait a second. It sounds to me like you're making an objective claim. I can't do something because it's wrong. It's not just wrong for you, it's wrong for me. You see, moral relativism, it can't be lived out. It can't be lived out consistent with reality. So I try to point people in that direction through fun illustrations, and I try to get under people's skin sometimes. I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing for me to say. I think that I find the issue that's going to be best for that person in his or her life, and go with it, and try to dig into that. So if it's environmentalism, animal rights, whatever the topic might be, and I go there, and I have fun. Oh man, I think my microphone might have been muted there. Anyways, what I was saying is that this book, Greg's book on moral relativism, feet firmly planted in midair. He co-authored it with Beckwith. It's an amazing resource, and it's actually affected my life as well. And yeah, it's a good resource. I won't tell the story again in case I was muted. Yeah, let's see here. Any more questions? Here's a question here. Harmony. Okay. Is there any merit, however small, to the my truth claim that aims to help others understand a person's perspective? For example, those in a marginalized community may wish to communicate the truth of what it's like to live under circumstances. That's a really great question, and a relevant one too. It's a really good question. I think when somebody says it's my truth, we got to be very, very, very careful. That being said, put in the context of experiences, I think experiences matter. And this is often coming up right now. It's relevant. It's coming up because of the BLM stuff and all the racism stuff. And I think it's important that we hear people. And I think it's important that we don't always lead with arguments. And I think it's important that we come alongside people, right? Bear each other's burdens. I take that seriously in my life. Love our neighbor as ourselves, love our enemies, and what's that look like? And it means part of it is hearing people out. So that's what I want to do now. Just because somebody has an experience that doesn't make it objectively true in the sense it's the same thing. It's subjectively true, but it doesn't make large leaps. Just because somebody experienced racism, for example, doesn't mean racism exists on a large scale within a certain societal place, if that makes sense. It could, but there's more work to do there. So that's what I'd say to that. I hope that gets to the point of the question there. I think it's important when somebody says my truth, our antennas should go up and we should put on our listening ears and we should just pay attention to what they say. And if nothing else, we get to learn about somebody else's experience. And from there, we get to learn how we can respond to people because we get to know them better. And I think that's really important. I'm a highly relational person and I like listening to people's stories. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question. Yeah, I got a text from my boss saying I'm muted. I hope I'm not anymore. She's not texting anymore, so I'm assuming I'm not. All right, let's see here. Let's see if I have any more questions. Dude, it's so great to see everybody paying attention and listening. This is so cool. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Right here, you got Jen. You mentioned Vodi Bakum, and he's a great resource. Dividing Line is his newest book on the CRT stuff and racism. It's a pretty decent resource. There's a lot of good resources out there on that now. But Vodi Bakum, man, I like almost everything he does. I mean, I don't agree with everything, but I mean, who doesn't? And who am I to say I don't agree with Vodi Bakum? The man's brilliant and he's fantastic. So let's see here. This is funny, Karen. Yeah, you do you, boo. Yeah, boo is what I call my wife, and I'll joke with her and I'll say that to her, and like the thing in my life, I just say, hey, as long as you're happy, boo, as long as you're happy, because there is an objective truth that if your wife is happy, you've got a good life, right? Happy wife, happy life. That is an objective truth. And I'm guaranteeing that that's true for everybody. So that's funny, Karen. Thanks for the comment. Oh, look at that. Mike Winger, the Mike Winger. He's famous and beautiful. Look how beautiful he is. He's weird accent. Forget about it. Yeah, Mike's great. He's a Bible thinker. If you guys don't know who he is, he's got a great YouTube channel. You should go over and subscribe and like his channel. He does amazing stuff. Karen, I'm so glad that you found value in this. And I'm so glad that you tuned in and are participating. Thank you. I'm on every the last Wednesday of every month, and I'll be doing the same thing. Not relativism next month. Oh my gosh, I should have written it down. I forget what I'm doing next month, but that's typical for me. Oh, thanks, Debbie. Debbie says this is great. You're great. All this positive stuff. I should hang out here a lot more. Let's see here. John lost audio for a minute or two. Yeah, I'm really, really sorry. It's see, Nikki, that's not you, that's me. So I must have hit mute on my external mic and forgot to push it back. So let me find another comment here. Let's see here. I can't believe you like all the people hating about mint ice cream. Are you kidding, Donnie? I mean, it's so good. I like, oh my gosh, I like real mint ice cream. I don't know if you guys have ever had real mint chip ice cream. It's so good. There's a restaurant by me, like a really nice restaurant up in Santa Barbara that makes real mint chip ice cream, and it makes it uses the mint from their garden. So it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Audio is working now, and I'm down at the end of my feed. So I'll give it a, oh yeah, thanks, Stand to Reason. And when I say thanks, Stand to Reason, that's Harmony actually behind. And Harmony's amazing. She is, I don't want to say new anymore to the Stand to Reason team, because I think she's been there for a couple months now, but she's taken over all our online stuff, social media stuff, and she's just incredible. I mean, holy smokes, if she can get me on here working, I mean, this is unbelievable. She's so good. So thank you so much, Harmony. Yeah, next month I'm going to be talking about atheism, and I'm going to be sharing maybe a little bit more about my story, and why I think atheism isn't an accurate descriptor of reality. It doesn't work with reality. And so I hope you tune in then. It's going to be the last Wednesday of August, and we're going to have a great time. And somebody asked here, can I rewind this, or do I have to wait till it's over? I don't know. That's a great question. I think, but I'm about to end. So Keith, patience, my friend. I am ending in 1 second. And I think that's it. I don't see any more questions, and you guys are amazing. I thank you guys so much. And hey, you know what? I'd love to throw this out there. You know, I've got about 6 months of these plans now about 4 months of these planned. I'd love to carry it on and maybe up the frequency if you guys are finding value in it. And I'd love to know what you want to hear. So if you have stuff that you'd really like to hear me comment on, and then maybe we could talk in this format, put that comment and in the feed over here, and we'll consider it. And I'd love to get some ideas. Like I said, I've got about 4 or 5 more ideas in the works, and they're prepped and starting to get ready to go. But after that, I'd love to even maybe up the frequency. And I'd really like to do one on the deconversion stuff in particular. I don't know if you guys are tracking with that. I'd love to do one. Bruce made the comment on CRT. I'd love to do one on CRT and dig into that and just have a real frank conversation. Yeah. So anyways, you guys are fantastic. I'm so grateful for you. And thanks for checking me out, of course. Thanks for watching. Again, make sure, oh, you know what? If you haven't signed up, I have to say this. If you haven't signed up for STR's new training modules, we're doing STR U. You got to go to training.str.org, and you got to sign up for these things. I mean, they're incredible. They're courses. Each one consists of multiple classes, up to 5 separate classes, videos, 5 to 10 minutes of your time, chock full of amazing information, really great production quality. And then you can take a little quiz, but also there's some treats coming up, like some really cool things coming up for those of us who finish the courses, where you're going to get some really great opportunities to access myself and some of the other speakers at STR in a really intimate way if you are able to complete those courses and get invites to certain things. I also want to remind you, I can't believe this, but we're already up to like almost 700 registrations, early bird registrations for the Orange County Reality Student Apologetics Conference. If you haven't gone to one of these, and again, I'm not saying this just because I work at STR now. Before I was at STR, I was a pastor at a local church. I mean, I still am a pastor, a lay pastor, but I used to gather kids and bring them. I used to just come by myself or with a friend as an adult to these conferences because they're amazing. Relatiapologetics.com. Make sure you register. You've got less than a week to get the early bird. I think Sunday is the cutoff for the early bird registration. $35. Jay Warner Wallace, Sean McDowell. We got a few folks there from LTI, Life Training Institute. I mean, we've had the best of the best. Frank Turek, Christopher Yuan, he's so good. And not to mention, you know, Alan Schleman. I mean, who's better than Alan? Or Tim Barnett. Yes, the Canadian Tim Barnett will be there. And of course, I mean, Kokol. I don't think you get better than Kokol, to be honest with you. But all of that is included. So make sure you go over there. I think it's $35 right now. And you can't beat that. So register for that. And I think that's all. And hey, if you're watching this, guys, yeah, it's going to be Orange County, California. Yeah, sorry, Karen. But if you go to realityapologetics.com and you can scroll down and you'll see all of our sites. Guys, we now have 6 locations for Reality Apologetics. Unbelievable. 6 locations all over the country. We just signed up Pennsylvania. So we've got somebody, and it's technically in the Northeast. It is. We found a Christian in the Northeast that's willing to host it. It's unbelievable. No, we're excited to be up in Pennsylvania. That's more of my neck of the woods. I'm looking forward to that. But it's a lot of fun. We got them in Dallas, Alabama, Seattle, Pennsylvania, and Orange County, and Minnesota, right outside St. Paul. So there's striking distance for everybody. Yeah, just so keep going, guys. Again, keep commenting whatever you guys need, and make sure you sign up for those things. And this is to the point. I'm Jon Noyes with Stand to Reason, and I'll be back the end of August, the last Wednesday of August, and we're going to be talking about atheism and all things having to do with that. So I look forward to that. I'll see you guys then. Have a great evening. Talk to you later. Be well.